What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Do a little Steelers Browns recap. Cleveland comes away with this one 13-10. It was exactly like how we thought it would play out, right? We knew it was going to be ugly. We knew it was going to be low scoring. Over under for this one, I think was like 34 points. It hit easily. Really ugly football game on both sides. Both defenses played extremely well. Both offenses really, really struggled, especially passing the football. But like normal, want to get my takes out there, talk about some positives, some negatives. Like usual, we will start off with the positives, even with the loss. I thought Jalen Warren played extremely well, man. It's really, I know Steelers Twitter, loves to make this like a Jalen versus Najee thing. And, I always try to like push back on that a little bit. Like it's okay that they have two good backs. With that being said, though, I think that the workload distribution probably needs to start changing a little bit with that. Warren needs to see some more carries. I thought that one of the biggest problems that the Steelers had on offense was that Warren only got 9 touches. I mean, only 9 rushing attempts. Six of those were deemed successful. Of course, he had the 70-something yard touchdown to open up the second half. And, he provided a spark. He was consistently their most effective, their best player on offense. When that is the case, you have to find ways to get that dude the ball. Now, that doesn't mean that, Harris has to ride the bench all game and you got to go to like a 90-10 split or anything like that. But you have to give him more touches. I mean, he's warranting more touches. Not saying Harris is playing bad. I think he was playing well, especially coming into this game. But Jalen's playing at a really, really high level right now, man. He's playing some awesome ball. Just the yards after contact, the contact balance, the aggressiveness, the physicality that he's showing. It's really fun to watch him run the football. And just positive take overall, I think it's really awesome that the Steelers were able to have so much success running the football against the Browns defense that was top 5 coming into to the game. You just look at some of the numbers, man. They averaged 6.6 yards per rush, 172 rushing yards. That's pretty good. I think they had about close to a 50% rushing success rate. 48% is what it ended up being. So pretty good. I mean, that's really impressive. We talked all week about how good the Browns defense was. A lot of guys up front. They spent a lot of money to shore up some of the weaknesses that they had last year. But the Steelers really ran the ball really effectively. We'll talk about some of the play calling and some other stuff with the offense more in the negatives column. But I thought positive, Jalen Warren played awesome. Really proud of the way he carried the ball for sure. Other positives, I think the defense played extremely well overall. I've already seen some people saying upset that they gave up the game-winning drive, and yeah, that's really frustrating. DTR made a couple throws finally at the very end of the game. He missed a lot of layups in this one, but he came through. He made some clutch throws at the end of the game. You don't want to take nothing away from him, but overall, man, they forced 8 punts, 5 punts in the second half. They got a turnover. Chandler Sullivan off the tip ball interception. They gave up 259 rushing yards, man. Like whenever you're on the field 12 times, and you have that sort of success, I mean, they deserve to win the game. All right. It's really disappointing that they weren't able to come away with that one. And you even look at like some of the numbers for the Browns weren't terrible either. Like they had a 39% rushing success rate, which was fine. But just over like 3 yards per carry on the ground, 3.3. It's pretty good, man. We talked about the need to stop the run. That was what Cleveland was going to come into this wanting to do, was establish the ground game. They got a good offensive line, the interior, especially with Batonio and Teller. I thought that the Steelers did a pretty good job setting the line of scrimmage and being physical up front. Just in terms of stopping the run, I thought Highsmith and Watt against the run were pretty good, especially in backside pursuit. Landon Roberts continues to play out of his freaking mind. I know tackles themselves are not like a massively useful stat, I guess, but Roberts had 15 of them, multiple tackles for loss, multiple run stops. I thought he was fine whenever the Browns tried to scheme him into space. Didn't see any missed tackles or anything like that. So he continues to play really good ball. And I think you've got to be excited about what you've seen from him, just as that kind of like tone setter on defense. Other kind of positives, thought the defensive line played fairly well. Ogunjobi was pretty quiet. I thought Benton made a couple of plays early in the game. Didn't notice him as much as it wore on. Cam Hayward, really quiet as a pass rusher since he came back from injury, but dude, he's playing some really good ball against the run. Just he's still strong as an ox. A lot of lockout, shed type plays where he's helping them control the line of scrimmage. So, and even the secondary, man, like I thought Patrick Peterson had another good game. This back-to-back good performances for Pat Pete, settling down, playing more inside. moving around a little bit more. I think that he's stringing together some quality performances, and that's pretty solid. Trenton Thompson, he had two pass breakups. I think he might have lost that interception opportunity in the sun, which was kind of unfortunate. But I thought for a guy that was literally on the practice squad days ago, right? He comes in and he's forced to start and play dang near every down. Really impressive performance from him, especially just thinking to all the freaking injuries that they've had throughout the defense. I thought you got to be really excited about how he was able to come in and play some solid football. Um, just in terms of like other really disappointing aspects of it, just this passing game, man, just all together, just extremely frustrating. And people, on Twitter and stuff, they're constantly like upset, like when I was pointing out stuff that was wrong with the passing game, especially over the past month, because the Steelers were winning in spite of having a real NFL passing game. And the reason why I do that is to remain like level headed, but also I try to show like things that could happen moving forward if things don't get addressed. Like even if the Steelers are winning, that doesn't mean that everything's all great. Okay, there are always things that you can improve on, and even if they're losing, like after this game right here, we're going to get on here. We're going to talk about some positives from the game. It doesn't always have to be win is good, bad, or losses are bad, and that's all you talk about. There's things to take away, but this passing game, it doesn't even resemble anything close to what other NFL offenses are doing. It's really scary to me. You just look at the game plan today. A couple things wrong with it. One, they started the game, multiple drop back opportunities where they left Myles Garrett one on one. We talked about it in the preview. I went on a Browns podcast. Shout out my guy Q. I went on there. We talked about do not leave Myles Garrett one on one. I talked about it on Twitter. They did it anyway. The reason that the Steelers have had success against Garrett in the past, they got the ball out quick and they've given Dan more help when they actually have to throw the ball down the field. They come out today, it's like they just forgot about the game plan. Like the game plan was totally different. They left Dan Moore on an island. Yeah, he's the left tackle, and it's on him for not making the blocks. But Duke Garrett was just winning quickly. Like as soon as Pickett was hitting his back foot, he was in the backfield. And you can't let those type of game wreckers wreck the game. You got to try to neutralize their exposure, their impact. And I just don't think from a game plan perspective, you can't go 5-man protection and leave him one-on-one. That's just not an option. He's that type of player. So that was frustrating from a game planning standpoint. Two, the passing game right now, like you do not need to draft a first round quarterback, or heck, you can use any backup in the league to run this type of offense where you're just running sprint left, sprint right option, bootlegs to the flat, play action to the flat, screens. Every time the Steelers get under center and they run play action, it's a screen coming behind it. Like it's so predictable, man. They just don't have any threat of pushing the ball downfield. And you just look at some of the numbers over the past month, and Pickett's averaging like 4 something yards per attempt. I mean, it's hard to. They've won some games in spite of that, but it's hard to do that consistently against good teams. And the Browns, it's not the same Browns. Like they are a good team now. They have a really, really good defense, if not the best in the league. So it's just really frustrating. Like there's just no, from a game planning perspective, it's like, man, where are the shot plays? What type of consistency can you generate if the passing offense is just down to the bare bones and you just don't trust the quarterback to do really anything? And then really that moves also to Kenny Pickett. Like he's not, like even the things that he was doing relatively well towards the end of his rookie year, he's not doing well right now. Like the accuracy stuff, still all over the place. I think it looked like the first sack that he took, or the second sack, excuse me, because the first sack came on the first drive of the game. I thought that he had an avenue maybe to step up on the pocket. I want to see the behind the end zone angle to that. But really just totally ineffective today. I mean, you look at just any of the numbers that you want. 26% success rate as a passer. He was negative 12 EPA per play. So basically, as a passer, he costed them almost 2 touchdowns today on average. Like, you're just not going to win against good teams like that. It is what it is. And, he had opportunities in the fourth quarter to kind of turn this thing around like he's done so many times, like this year where he hasn't played well up until the last drive or two of the game. And we came in to the week talking about on here, on different avenues. I said, like, this wasn't a game where he was going to have pretty numbers. Like, the Browns defense is better than the Steelers offense. I wasn't expecting him to go out there and throw for 225 and 2 touchdowns. He was just going to have to make 1 or 2 big throws. Ideally, you get those down the field, some explosive plays, because you're not going to go 12-yard drives on this Browns defense at home. So, he just needed to make one or two throws and take care of the football. Well, he took care of the football, but just nothing down the field. I mean, I don't even know how many passes he completed past 10 yards. I think it was only the only one that I can really, really remember was the deep comeback to Deontay or George Pickens, excuse me. And then the receivers are rendered pretty much useless in this offense because they can't do anything down the field. So I don't know, man. It just seemed like him and Deontay had some weird mix-ups today where, maybe Pickett was expected back shoulder, Deontay's expecting a go ball. There were some balls that landed without even receivers in the screen. It's tough, man. I know it's so frustrating, especially like not just from my standpoint, but I know y'all are frustrated with it too. Because like you watch around the league right now, man, it's like you pay attention to some of these offenses. Tommy DeVito goes and plays. Like who even knows who that is? I think most casual NFL fans don't. And he goes out and he throws multiple touchdowns a day. And it's just like so many of these other offenses around the league make scoring and make passing the football look easy, and the Steelers continue to make it look like they're trying to solve world hunger, like it's just the most difficult thing to do in the existence of the earth. So it's really depressing, especially because you're still having like the same issues over and over and over. So just the other kind of frustrating points, at least for me, thought Joey Porter Jr. struggled a little bit. Talked about Amari Cooper. That was going to be a really tough matchup for him. This is one that I really wanted to film on because I wanted to see how you would react. Here's the thing with Porter. So Porter is a kick stepper, and that type of technique is really difficult to defend, like outside slants. So Cooper was I knew he was going to do this too. I talked about it on Q's podcast about how like outside release slants are really difficult to cover when you're a kick stepper. And like I knew that Cooper, as a PhD level route runner, a guy who's done this at a really high level for a long time, he was going to take advantage of that. And he got him, I think, 3 or 4 times over the middle. And then, Porter had the holding penalty, which to me was more back and forth, though both guys are kind of being physical. I would have let that go. But then there was a play later in the game in the fourth quarter where Cooper ended up getting a catch, but Porter, just real messy with his hands. He ended up hitting the face mask. It should have been a penalty there. So all in all, it's just a wash. But, it's good experience for him. He's had a fantastic rookie season. I don't have any complaints about Joey or really any concerns coming away from this game. It's just like sometimes when you go up against the legit number one wide receivers, veteran guys that have, done really good things in the league, sometimes, as a youngster, you got to take your lumps. And I thought he took some lumps today. He battled hard, but Cooper won the matchup, and it is what it is. You watch the film, you learn from it. I'm excited to see what it looked like on a play-by-play basis because, maybe it wasn't as bad as it looked live. But yeah, I mean, 6-4, man, is not a bad place to be if you're a Steelers fan. I think win probability or playoff probability right now is sitting above 50%. Got some really easy games, in my opinion, coming up. Very winnable games for the Steelers that they're going to need to take advantage of. They've just got they don't need to get good quarterback play. They've got to get baseline average quarterback play. Because I think with the way the run game is, like I said, the run game doing what it did today against a really, really good defense. I have confidence that this run game can give the Steelers offense an identity. Canada needs to lean into it more than he did today, especially with a quarterback that's struggling. He needs to lean into it more. They need to get Jalen Warren a little bit more touches and really lean on him and Harris to keep this offense afloat. With that and the defense playing the way it is right now, again, 13 points, man, 250 yards, you're going to take that in the NFL. Doesn't matter if it's a backup quarterback or not. Like, you're going to take that all day. They force a turnover. Those two elements of the team are playing well enough to go to the playoffs. All right. And even like make life, not saying they can go win a playoff game, but they can make life miserable on whoever they play, depending on the matchup. But they've got to get somewhat close to average quarterback play, and they've got to get something going in the air. Like, you're not, if they have any just hopes or aspirations to win a playoff game, you can't do it with bottom 5 quarterback play and, arguably the worst passing game in the league. It can't happen. Not in today's NFL. It's really just too hard to consistently win that way, especially against good teams, which you're going to see in the playoffs. That just is what it is. And, I think a lot of people are really frustrated by the performance overall, but I don't want to make it more than what it is. This is just a 1-week thing. They lost to a better team today. I still think that the Steelers have a very good chance to make the playoffs. I don't know what will happen once they get there because, like I said, I have very, very, very little faith in the passing game to where they can be able to keep up with some of the quarterbacks that they may see. in the playoffs. You know, the Trevor Lawrences, the Patrick Mahomes, those type of players. But it is what it is. You just got to get into the dance, and I still like the Steelers' chances of getting into the dance. But we got to figure something out through the air, man. I just it's hard to watch. It looks like they're calling plays like it's a high school offense, or they're calling plays for like a backup quarterback. And really, to me, Pickett's confidence just looks completely shot, man. Like just completely shot. He was under a lot of pressure today, but even when he wasn't, just didn't look sure of himself. And this has really been the case, really, for most of the year. Just has not played very good football. Um, but 7 games left in the regular season. It's time to get it straightened out, man. I would love to see him get a statement performance, go back to the drawing board, play well next week. We'll see if that happens. But man, he needs to get his confidence back, more than anything, man. I don't know how to do it, but it's definitely got to happen. Appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, like, subscribe, comment, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. Let me know what y'all thought of the loss. Try not to yell at me too much. I'm in the same boat. I'm disappointed in the performance itself. It's always frustrating to lose, like to the Browns, too, like Browns, Ravens, Bengals, like those type of losses. They just sit with you a little bit different. But yeah, I appreciate you guys, support on the channel. Like I said, I will try to get as much stuff this week up as I possibly can. Definitely will get multiple videos, but maybe even some draft content. I did see all the comments on the last video about you guys being interested in that sort of stuff. So maybe I'll try that out this week if I can get around to it. So again, I appreciate you guys. Peace and